Hey YouTube, this is Anglico 0861 for the Tactical Channel. I'm going to make another video here. It's been a while, but I've had a lot of comments and questions, and I want to go over a couple things that I've already gone over, but I'll just go over them again. Know your weapon, okay? Bad situations are coming. With the future the way it is, who knows what's going to happen. So purchase a firearm. Know it. Get to know it. Know how it functions. Reliability. Okay, it's the first thing I want to go over. I don't care if you buy a AR-15, AK-47, SKS, what have you. Know the weapon. Know how to field strip it. Know how to clean it. Know how it functions. You want to buy something that's going to function no matter what you put into it. Okay, whether you put good ammunition or crappy ammunition. A lot of guys out there, they buy these high dollar rifles and they're shooting this really good high dollar ammunition. Hey, that's great. But not everybody can afford that, and if things go to hell, you're not always going to be able to find that good ammunition. You know, you may have this rifle that's very finicky and times get tough and somebody throws you a spam can of cheap Russian Tula ammunition. Now you got to worry about, is your weapon going to function? Is it going to work with that? Okay? Try it out, test it out. When you get a weapon, try all kinds of different ammunition. Know how it works. Okay, this happens to be a Bushmaster Carbon 15. A little update on that. It still has not had any problems. It's a great rifle. It shoots anything I put through it. The only problem I've ever had is with some of this Tula ammunition where it's rusted before it's fired because it's steel casing. And when it's fired in the chamber, the rust breaks the polymer, cracks it, and causes a failure to eject. It's not the rifle's problem, that's the ammunition. Some of this stuff works fine, some of it doesn't. You've got to kind of watch out. I have another video on that. Other than that, this thing fires everything from high dollar stuff to, you know, the Russian stuff. I switched to this Silver Bear. You can buy it cheap. It's zinc plated casings. It doesn't have the rusting and cracking problems that the polymer coated lacquered stuff does. So I've switched to that. Your weapon, know how it functions with different magazines. Your weapon is only as good as the magazine. Okay. Had a buddy of mine who just bought a brand new M&P AR-15, and he was using the steel Bushmaster government style magazines, and it just would not run. It couldn't go through a whole magazine without it jamming every other round. I handed him my PMag, and the thing ran flawlessly. I'm a big proponent of the PMag. You know, I've seen tests on this thing where it's been shot, put back together, not even put back together, shot, and you know, bullet goes through it and it still works. They've thrown it in front of a Humvee, up-armored Humvee that weighs, you know, 11,000 pounds without the gear in it, and it runs it over, and the thing, several times you pick it up, it still puts in the weapon and still runs. They're not much more than a regular magazine, but they're just durable, they're flawless. I just can't say enough good things about the magazines. I have another video about how to service your magazines and things like that. I go over a bunch of stuff with magazines. So. But I highly recommend the Magpul PMag. Great magazine. Know your zero. Among other things about knowing your weapons, how it functions, what kind of ammunition it functions well with, know your zero. There's a lot of controversy about what should you set your zero at. A lot of people say 100 yards. I personally recommend 50 yards. The reason why is because if you have a 50-yard zero, okay, your ability to engage targets closer without having to do a lot of adjustment is a lot easier. At a 50-yard zero, you can shoot out to 100 to 200 yards with barely having to mess with your zero. Okay, there's not a whole lot of difference between your zero there. But what if you zero your rifle at 100 yards and you have to do a 10-yard shot? Then you have a lot more calculations to do. 50-yard zero, you don't have that. So it's a good in the middle zero where you can still engage targets out to 200 yards without having to really monkey with anything, and you can still do that in close 10-yard. Say if you have a hostage situation and you need a headshot, you don't have to monkey with it that much, and you should know your zero, know where you have to put that red dot or your iron sights or whatever you're using at that particular zero, from 10 yards to 50 to 100 all the way out to 300. Okay, that's something that'll save your life. So that's another big thing, is know how that weapon's going to shoot. Know your optic. Know what that optic's going to do. How you have it zeroed in. That may be life and death to you someday, or your family. So, like I said, it all boils down to knowing what you have. I don't care if you're buying an AK-47 and an SKS. If that's all you can afford, fine. Just know that weapon. Know how to clean it. Keep it in functioning condition. Like I said, the magazines, your weapon is only as good as your magazine. If you're going to use the old government style magazines, I suggest that this is an old follower, okay? And if you can see this, it can rock in there. It can't, and if it does that, it can jam up into your weapon. Okay, so if you're going to use these and they function good in your weapon, make sure you swap out to the new followers. These things don't tilt, and they don't jam up as much. Service them regularly, clean them, take the bottom plate off, pull the spring out, clean inside, stretch your spring out a little bit, especially if you keep your magazines loaded quite often. I recommend keep a few loaded for emergencies, but don't load them all and leave them loaded all the time, because that can weaken the springs, and that could cause feeding jams and failure to feed, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much it. I'll do some more videos on some more equipment here, but any comments, any questions, feel free to ask. Be polite, be intelligent, and until next time, stay safe and Semper Fi.